RuneScape is a massive game, a detailed, charming world that's often overlooked in favour of efficiency. Over more than 2 decades, the world of RuneScape has expanded both in scale and depth. From the very first map drawn by Andrew Gower to the intricate, multi-continental Gelinor of today. The sheer amount of content in the game is incredible, and RuneScape features so many cool secrets, references, trivia and lore that's not immediately apparent or often overlooked. So in this series we'll go through and highlight some of the game's more obscure details. So subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss an episode, and let's get into it. Draenor Village is home to a few of the game's stranger characters, a settlement in the shadow of the haunted Draenor Manor and a stone's throw from the Wizard's Tower. It's no surprise that this village is the home of a witch, Aggie, who's involved in a couple of quests. Most notably, she'll make dye for the player for use in goblin diplomacy. Aggies House is a small square room, which strangely has a spawn for both cheese and tomatoes, probably so players can use them to make plain pizza. However, these spawns have a little backstory, revealed in the first post bag from the hedge. The cheese apparently was the result of Aggie's self-replenishing cheese spell version 12, one of the first spells learned by the witch. The tomato too was the result of a spell, though not one she intended to cast. While summoning a lesser demon, something went wrong, resulting in the tomato being spawned instead. They're both red, I guess? Either way, she warns that the tomatoes sometimes bite, which would make sense if they're a sort of half-summoned lesser demon, and can now protect her from evil Bob, who sneaks up behind her. East of Aggie's house, but still in Draenor Village, we find Ned, a retired sailor involved in quests like Dragon Slayer and Prince Ali Rescue. Ned is useful in that he'll craft handmade rope for the player from wool, if given 15 GP or 4 balls of it. Or for an extra coin, players can buy rope from his shop, Ned's Handmade Rope. However, we learn from Joffrida on Knot that she trades her rope for wool with a sailor in the Draenor area. And if pressed on this, Ned admits that his rope isn't actually handmade from wool, and that he trades for it. He'll try and buy the player's silence with a free, handmade rope. One of the stranger interactions in the game happens if the player decides, for whatever reason, to use a herring on a tree. Instead of what you'd expect, nothing interesting happens, there's a unique response. This is not the mightiest tree in the forest. Being an English game, RuneScape has its fair share of references to Monty Python, a comedy group who made films such as Life of Brian and The Holy Grail. In the latter, King Arthur and his group are stopped in the forest by the knights who say Nih, who try and make the group complete bizarre tasks to pass through, like bringing them a small shrubbery and later,
"You must cut down the mightiest tree in the forest with a herring!"
Arthur responds with,
"It can't be done!"
and learns that the knights can't stand the word it, which allows them to pass. If in RuneScape we find the mightiest tree in the forest, of course being the Grand Tree in Tree Gnome Stronghold, the chat box mimics Arthur, saying it can't be done. As well as tiny bits of lore and references, RuneScape's world is full with strange little bits of content that appear to have been forgotten, or serve no purpose. For whatever reason, in the Forgotten Cemetery in level 30 Wilderness, a graveyard infested with monsters like Anku, skeletons and zombies, a single man walks around, the same sort that can be found in Lumbridge and other towns. His drops are identical, as are his pickpocket rewards. There's no explanation why he's found in this haunted cemetery in the wilderness. Finally, there's a larger bit of content added to the game all the way back in 2002 that seems like it should serve a larger purpose, but doesn't. The game has a few magical towers, like the Wizard's Tower south of Draenor, the Dark Wizard's Tower west of Falador, or the Wizard's Guild in Yanil. However, just south of Ardoin, there's another structure marked on the map, ominously just named Necromancer. The Necromancer's Tower is home to a few unique characters, including the Necromancer monster, who can summon zombies to attack the player. On the top floor there's a named variant, Invrigar the Necromancer, who's strangely weaker than the basic one. The Necromancer's ability to summon zombies during combat is pretty unique, and these monsters spawned are only found during these fights. On the ground floor we find Invergar's apprentice, Erwin Fieselbaum, a young student who's notably shorter than the average human NPC, who mentions that the Necromancers have in-game reasons for respawning. They can resurrect themselves using their abilities, and that it's down to him to tidy the tower every time there's a battle. There are a few more oddities found here, like a bookshelf which can't be searched as it's placed behind a staircase, or the fact that Saradomin emblems decorate shields and rugs, despite the Necromancers apparently worshipping Zamorak. The Necromancer's Tower, and its named NPCs, aren't really involved in any quests, clue scrolls, or other notable content, except for a single Master Hot-Cold scroll. It seems like more was planned for the area, maybe a quest involving Invergar and his apprentice, but was never implemented. The closest we come to a quest involving the tower is Scythic Ints, a necromancer who lives just north of the Wizards Guild and is involved in the Zoga Flesh Eaters quest. He has a necromancy book in his room, and searching a bookcase on the ground floor of the Necromancy Tower will show that a book is missing on loan to the Wizards Guild. Likely the very same book. You'd think with necromancy getting a larger focus with Arceus's spellbook, the Necromancy Tower would be involved in some way, but for now it seems to serve no real purpose, just an obscure part of RuneScape's world. Thanks for watching this video. If there's anything interesting or obscure you'd like to see covered, leave it in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.